It seems to me that over the past 15 years or so, if you're not in favor of repurposing, paving green space, or destroying history, you're somehow or another deemed to be not progressive. And the people, Friends of City Park and myself, feel that that's no way, shape, or form to be true, okay? There's a 20-year-old plan that's being floated, I think, by Jenny Peters to repurpose the golf course and put additional amenities in and around City Park. I want to state something emphatically here. We're not opposed to progress. We're not opposed to improving the park and perhaps adding some additional amenities. We believe that the vision needs to be expanded, and that vision needs to include keeping that historic, soon-to-be 100-year-old golf course in its existing footprint exactly as it is. And I think if you get creative minds working on this thing, that can 100% be the case. There's projects going on at the LSU Lakes that we may touch on a little later on that will give ample room to put some additional amenities that Ms. Peters wants to have in and around that area. But there's no reason to go about destroying history and leaving a destroyed golf course in its wake to progress. Some of the things that, again, the historic golf course, soon to be 100 years old, was integrated in 1964, and that's a vitally important piece of Baton Rouge history. It's well played. As I understand it, in 2024, there were over 26,000 rounds of golf by paying golfers playing golf at the historic City Park golf course, over 26,000 rounds. Webb Park hosted like 56,000 rounds. So we're getting close to capacity on these golf courses, and people say, well, the golfers can just go to Webb Park and play. You can't. There's not enough room, there's not enough capacity to host that many golfers at Webb Park. Historic City Park Golf Course has a very vital, it serves a vital part of the community in that it hosts First Tee, and it hosts high school golf tournaments that are all out there. So again, it's very well played, it's utilized, it's not just sitting out there as a vacant lot where nobody goes on it, it's extremely well utilized. Some of the proposals that Ms. Peters has put forth in her Envision project include an amphitheater. Well, how many amphitheaters does Baton Rouge need? Galvez Park is within 2.5-mile walking distance from the place where they want to put the amphitheater on the City Park golf course. Have any of you been to Live After 5, downtown Baton Rouge? That's where the concerts are held. Again, how many amphitheaters do we need in that close of proximity? Doesn't South Baton Rouge deserve an amphitheater? Doesn't North Baton Rouge perhaps deserve an amphitheater? Do we have to put that many that close proximity? She's proposed botanical garden. How many botanical gardens does Baton Rouge need? There's the Cone Arboretum on Foster Road. We have the LSU Botanical Garden on Essen Lane. We have the Hilltop Arboretum on Highland Road. I think there's an Arboretum Botanical Garden that Breck has on Independence Park. How many arboretums do we need? And is that a good use of taxpayer dollars? She talked about an adaptive playground. Great idea. Great idea. An adaptive playground. As I understand it, Brooks City Park encompasses 154 acres, 40 of which are consumed by the golf course. 154 acres, only 40 of which are taken up by the golf course. So there's ample room out there to put other amenities and other facilities such as the adaptive playground. It's a great idea. She talks about some carny rides, and I'm not sure, again, probably ample space out there to put some carny rides out if that's what Baton Rouge wants, if that's what we want to showcase as the entrance to LSU. I guess they can, they're again, ample place out there to put those. Food trucks. Is there really a need to destroy a historic 100-year-old golf course to park food trucks on it? I don't think that there is. Pickleball courts, great idea. Pickleball is a wonderful thing. I'm told you guys, the press, are going to have to go research this. I'm told that there are pickleball courts already in existence at Independence Park. I don't know if that's true. They probably have room to put some pickleball courts on the Brooks side of City Brooks Park. So there's ample room to expand and add those amenities already there. Here's the one that really gets me. They want a paddle boat and kayak rental, and they want to put it at the end of the golf course right by the lake there. Have any of you been to Wampole Park? Do you know where Wampole Park is? At the other end of the lake, and you stand on Baton Rouge Beach. It's difficult to do right now because they have the lake's dredging going on, okay? But if you stand at Wampole Park, you've got these beautiful, majestic sorority houses on your left. You have beautiful residences on your right. You look down all across the lake. You see the tip of the Capitol tipping up above the skyline. Some of Baton Rouge skyscape. Barely see any interstate. Only in Baton Rouge would we propose to put a kayak rental facility nestled between an 8-lane interstate, soon to be 8-lane interstate, and an industrial rail corridor. I don't get it. I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful interstate. They're working hard on it, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me that we would put that facility there when you have such a tremendous regal view from Wampole Park looking across the entire expanse of the lake. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the railroad track. There's an industrial rail corridor. Canadian Pacific runs an industrial rail corridor. I think they bought Kansas City Southern. And that train runs through there often. Number one. That is a control point. What a control point means is the train not only runs through there, it stops at that lakeshore crossing. And they do something, I'm not sure what because I'm not a railroad person, but they do switch personnel. Personnel get on and off of the train at that point. I think they do brake checks or some kind of maintenance checks before they leave and head south on that, coming out of that rail yard. And then traffic runs in from the south to the north at train speeds. And I'm not saying they're dangerous. I'm saying that it's normal train speed. They're not running at exorbitantly high speeds, but they are running through there with cargo. So why would we want to put a park and invite children to such an attractive nuisance on that railroad track? You can encase that track in a 3-foot thick concrete tunnel with steel trap doors on each side of it, and kids are going to find a way to get in there. And if you decapitate or squish one child under that rail car, you have a big problem. The latest pedestrian fatality in that area was, I think, February 15th of 2024, just over a year ago. Someone was killed, I think, just north of the Perkins Road overpass, a pedestrian on the rail. Louisiana is in the top 25 for rail injuries, pedestrian injuries. I think there were 10 fatalities, pedestrian fatalities in 2024. So to me, why would we go and invite children and create this attractive nuisance that would endanger them or someone's lives? Our deal is simply this. We can expand the vision. We can create some of the amenities that Ms. Peters wants in her plan, in the existing footprint that exists in Brooks City Park, and perhaps she can talk to the LSU Lakes, and when they get that phase 1 finished and begin phase 2, some of those amenities are probably better served in and around the LSU Lakes. So we think it doesn't have to be either or both. That golf course can exist in its existing footprint and continue to operate as a historical part of Baton Rouge, while also creating additional amenities that Ms. Peters wants to put in her plan. You know, here's a challenge. The challenge is this. Let's get LSU School of Architecture or Southern University or some of these high schools, and let's throw out a challenge. Create a plan, create a vision for Brooks City Park and LSU Lakes that incorporates some of these amenities, but leaves that existing historic footprint in its exact capacity as it is now. It's extremely well played. People use it often. They pay to get on the course. It's getting close to being to capacity, as is Webb, and there's no reason to destroy history to progress. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Kevin, along the lines of working with a solution, have you done any investigation of enhancement of a first tee program, or a better golf program for kids there?
Well, I think they are working on the first tee program. I think that they it is part of the first tee program. They do utilize it. I don't think they utilize it as much as they do maybe one of the other facilities, perhaps Clark or something like that. But it is utilized for high school golf tournaments, and there are some first tee events that take place there. There are plans also currently in the works to expand. You know, if you think about a park, okay, if you think about a park, what amenities would you want in a park? You want tennis courts, maybe, perhaps a croquet court, maybe a dog park, maybe a playground, maybe picnic areas, maybe access to walking and biking trails, an art gallery would be great, a reception and meeting facility, maybe a splash pool, perhaps access to a tremendous children's museum. You know, all of those things already exist at City Park. They're already there. They're already in use. They're already being utilized. In addition to a soon-to-be 100-year-old golf course. So, again, I can't understand. Nobody can explain to me why that golf course has to be altered in any way, shape, or form to accomplish progress and to move forward with some of the things that Ms. Peters envisions. Yes, sir.
Two questions. The first one is, first, as a precursor to this, I recall when Peters and McAllister had the proposal for Brett to do this back in, I think, like 12 years ago, for the previous renewal of the zone, of the ordinance, or excuse me, the grant, whatever it is, the funding was voted on. And I recall going to, I think it was to City Park to vote, and it was like a 400 to 400 vote, somewhere right in there, in favor of, I mean, against changing the park, keeping the footprint like it is. And so then it's brought up again in connection with the last renewal, and then it's still coming up. I'm wondering, and so I hear of Jeannie Peters, but I'm wondering, what about, has anybody done any survey to determine, does she have any backing?
I'm going to have to interrupt you. You're not a member.
Oh, I can't ask a question. Okay, sorry. Never mind.
Okay.
You can ask it if you want.
I'm sorry. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How, the National Historic Site designation, is that just the golf course, or is it everything? And then, besides the art gallery in the building, are there other tenants?
Well, I know for a fact the golf course is on the historic register. I'm not sure about the building and the art museum. I know that there are plans underway to expand that facility, and I think they're very close to getting phase one either started or approved. So they're going to improve the facility. But I do know that the golf course is on the National Historic Register. Yes, yes, ma'am.
In the typical golf course, 18 holes, and was it one time 18 holes when it became a national treasure? And number two, if someone wants to play 18 holes, do they sign up for like 2 rounds? How does that work?
That's correct, yes. So it's a 9-hole golf course. So think about how great that is. And I see a lot of college students, so they can run out between their biology class and their quantum physics, and they can get around a golf in, you know, because it's a 9-hole golf course, but you can also play 2 rounds on it and play an 18-hole round if you choose to. The question was regarding 9-hole versus 18-hole. It's a 9-hole golf course. It's a great little golf course. It's undulating. It's got some hills because it's on the Baton Rouge Fault. So as I understand it, again, I'm not a golfer, but people who have played it really enjoy playing it. They enjoy it for 2 reasons. Number one, there are a few little challenges out there. And number two, it's a 9-hole course that they can go in, play around, and get out.
I hate to do a follow-up, but your information suggests that if there are changes made to it, it may lose its national was it once at 18 and is now a 9, or it was always a 9?
I can't answer that question. I have no idea.
It's always a 9.
Always a 9. There you go. It was always a 9.
A lot of courses were 9.
Yes, ma'am.
Recently, Representative Dixon McMakin is bringing forth legislation to move BREC from a state entity to East Baton Rouge Parish into the oversight being the mayors of the 5 cities. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I've yet to determine my opinion. I'm looking into it. I'm looking at it. I'm watching what the ramifications of that would be. So we have to watch that very closely and determine what the impact to the entire city parish would be if that were to take place. I know there's been a lot of information in the press about BREC's audits and the falling behind and so forth. So again, I'm following it but haven't fully developed my opinion yet.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It sounds to me like they're going to need a big parking lot to make all this happen. So, number one, it's economic development on the backs of the taxpayers. Number two, what impact is it going to have on the neighborhood? That is a neighborhood with bands and all kind of things going on, food trucks.
Probably, again, the question is regarding what infrastructure development would have to take place to convert that golf course to a park. And I would think it would have to be pretty significant. I'm not a civil engineer, but I would think it would have to be pretty significant infrastructure development. I think you would be bringing in a lot of people, and I think that, again, there's this thought process that if you don't pave green spaces and tear down buildings and repurpose, that you're not in favor of progress. We are in favor of progress, but we don't think that that golf course has to be destroyed in order to progress. We have to look at it as a bigger picture. The LSU Lakes project and City Park are 2 separate projects. They're 2 separate entities, but they are contiguous. They run together, and so you can effectively look at them as one and put some amenities a few blocks down the street over maybe in the LSU Lakes project and keep City Park and the golf course intact. It doesn't have to be all or none. It can be both. Yes, ma'am.
So what is the status of all this? I mean, where are we in, is there a negotiation going on, or what's happening?
The question is, what is the status of all this? And my answer to that is, I don't know. Here's what I do know. I do know that in May of 2013, I had an opinion published in Dig magazine, and we were fighting this exact same battle. The plan that Jenny is running around with was drafted by a now deceased landscape architect that was drafted in 2005. So this has been going on forever. This has been a continuous attack on City Park Golf Course, and yet nobody can explain to me why they can't do what they want to do around the golf course and why they have to have the golf course. And again, when you look at the amenities that she's proposing, and you look at the amenities that are very close in proximity to that already, or that already exist in East Baton Rouge Parish, you wonder, why do we need to continue to spend additional taxpayer dollars to just duplicate those types of amenities in such a close proximity? Yes, sir.
When Jenny Peters spoke to the press club not too long ago, she did not know how many acres would be gained by the renovation or deepening of the University Lakes and City Park Lakes. She had no idea what the acreage would be. Do you know how much it would be?
I don't know how much it would be. There's an interesting thing that happened, though. In the original plan, and I spoke to someone involved in the Lakes project recently, and I was at most of the planning meetings years ago. In the original plan, it called for trucking all of the silt that was going to be dredged out of those lakes. They were going to use some of it to fill in the sides and put perhaps biking and walking trails. But there was going to be enough silt dredged out of that lake to have 18-wheelers lined up end to end from here to Houston to pull that much silt out of that lake. The final plan, when it was approved, apparently there was not enough money in the budget, and they didn't want all these trucks running in and around the lakes. I understand that. So what they decided to do was just recapture the silt. Now, according to this individual, they estimated that there were going to be 600,000 cubic yards of silt that was going to be excavated from the lakes to get them the way they needed to be. My recent conversation with them indicated that when the project is finished, it's going to exceed 1 million cubic yards. And I'm thinking I've got that accurate, cubic yards, 1 million cubic yards. So what they ended up doing, have you driven around the lakes lately and seen what's going on? So there was this bird sanctuary that was just located right in front of I think the LSU president's house or something like that. And what they're doing is these huge bladders that they're just making that bird sanctuary larger and larger and larger and larger and larger, almost to the point now where if you go look at it, it almost seems like it's almost going to cut the lake in half at some point, because that bird sanctuary is getting larger and larger because they have to recapture all of the silt as opposed to truck it out. There's an island or two in there. They're building some other land features in it just to try to utilize, I think, that silt. So there's going to be, I don't have any idea what's going to happen at the end of the day, but there are going to be places where you can put some of these additional amenities and additional facilities, I would think. It doesn't all have to be centered right on Brooks City Park when you have that larger area to work with. Yes, sir.
What is the work process for getting changes to be approved to change the city park?
Well, you're talking beyond the scope of what I do. I think there's a lot. Look, again, for years, this thing has been floated, brought to the people a number of times, and the people have said, just keep the golf course, and yet they are relentless in coming back and continuing to try to take that piece of property. And at some point, you have to begin to wonder, why? Why can't you work in the context of keeping the golf course, which is well played? Again, it's not like it's sitting there empty. It is well played, it's utilized. Why can't we just work in the context of keeping that historic property in its existing footprint and work around that? Yes, sir.
So the rec has the power to make changes without approval from
Again,
anybody else?
that's beyond my capacity here today. I don't know how much power Breck has. I don't know what the process is to go through and get changes implemented like that. The answer is I don't know. Yes, sir.
The answer is that they were going to be reducing the surface area of the lake, I think by about 20 or 25%. So that would put the acreage gain that Jenny Peters and her group could benefit of about 40 to 50 acres of additional recreational area.
In the lakes, not Brooks City Park, but with the lakes.
The total acreage is over 200 acres.
Okay.
For combined water surface area.
So there's additional capacity to put additional amenities in there. Why do we need to, in any way, shape, or form, impact the golf course? At one conversation I had with Ms. Peters, she indicated she wanted a running track, an oval running track. And she was having trouble convincing Breck to put the oval running track in place. Now, as I understand it, on the Brooks side of the park, there's room to put a 200-meter track, perhaps not a 400-meter track. And so there's capacity to even do that. I would imagine that in some other parks in the city, there's probably ample room to even put a 400-meter track. I don't know that for a fact. But there's capacity to put these other amenities in place and to get, Jenny's runners a track without, again, having to impact the golf course. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what you're saying, but the course being played, I played out there years ago, and I played during the summer. But the people do come out there in 30-degree weather and play that course, so it is used.
Oh, trust me, they're out there. I was surprised they weren't out there when it was snowing, because I've seen people play in ridiculous heat. Oh, his question is, he's played City Park years ago, and he's played it, and he said people come out there in very inclement weather and play that park. And they do. They play it in extreme heat. They play it in rain. They play it in sunshine. They play it in cold. The golf course is extremely well played.
You know, three things occur to me that are of great concern that Ms. Peters needs to think about. Number one, we do not maintain all the changes that are being made in our city at the moment. For example, we have asphalt streets being paved over what should be concrete because the Asphalt Association has a strong lobbyist. We have a government street beautification project that is not maintained, and I don't know if they even know at this point who's responsible for that, who's in charge. And thirdly, a giant bird sanctuary, I hope that they put enough in the budget to keep it clean. So,
okay, I'll let that stand on its own.
The bird.
Yes, yes, sir.
You know if anything is in all the budgets to assure that the quality of the construction, if it comes to pass, is going to be maintained properly?
But where, insofar as the lakes or the golf course are concerned?
The golf course. The bird sanctuary was just a comment.
You can't go on to the bird sanctuary.
Yeah, that's a separate entity. Yes, sir. So I saw a question back here. Yes, sir.
Is there capacity at the course to allow LSU to create a public relationship so that LSU's maintenance of this course could be eliminated and that land available to LSU?
LSU's maintenance of this
Could
course.
LSU use that? Is there capacity available that LSU could use your park, or the park you're discussing, in place of their current golf course?
So I think what you're asking, he's talking about the LSU golf course versus City Park Golf Course. I think what you're asking is, I've heard rumors that they are looking at putting a huge new facility somewhere out on the footprint of the LSU golf course. I don't know if that's accurate or not. People have said, I've seen drawings, etc. And again, this is all speculation and nothing factual here, but if that happens, it seems as though what I've heard is that the LSU golf course is going to be closed. And if the LSU golf course is going to be closed, where are those golfers going to go? And I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think those golfers are going to find a member at U Club and go pay $90 to play a round of golf. I could be wrong. I think most of those golfers are going to gravitate, if that happens, I think most of those golfers are going to gravitate towards a Webb or a City Park. And that's going to put additional capacity on Webb and City Park. Insofar as your question as to whether LSU could help maintain, I don't know.
I'm really asking if there's enough capacity that they could shift.
Utilize the course. Well, it depends how many golfers play out there. I'm not sure about the rounds played at the LSU golf course. I don't have that data, but I suspect that it could take a number of those rounds and probably. I think it's getting close to, somebody told me that the max capacity of City Park is about 30,000. We're getting close to that. And I'm not sure what Webb is, but they could probably absorb a number of those rounds at this point. Yes, ma'am.
In your opinion, what 2 or 3 nonprofits, economic development entities, cartels, whatever, are using their power and influence to have the City Park golf course go away?
That's a tough question. What entities, nonprofit you said? Or otherwise, are using their influence to have City Park go away? The golf course?
Yes.
Go away. That's a really, I'm going to avoid that one. I don't, the answer is I don't know. I've heard names. Well, I know that there were names 10 and 15 years ago that were out there pushing this in business publications and so forth to again eliminate the park. More recently, they were talking about how people were snowboarding down one of the greens or something. What they didn't show and what they didn't say about that is, sure, there were people out there having fun in the snow. But what they didn't say about that was they didn't show the trash that was left behind from that. Because what a lot of these people were doing was they were bringing pool inflatables, these little rubber ducky pool inflatables out there, and they would slide down the hill once and then they would pop. And a bunch of that debris and garbage was left on the golf course, and that's, you know. So I don't know the answer to your question. I think that, I don't think it's just Ms. Peters. I think there's a bigger something behind her, but I don't know what that is or who that is.
Do you know if Jenny's Runners Club supports what she's attempting to do?
You know, the answer is I don't know.
Okay.
And look, I've got my opinions about all of this. But I want to keep my opinion out of it because it's strictly from the standpoint of there's no reason to destroy a historic piece of Baton Rouge past. You can fit those amenities in and around Brooks City Park and around the LSU Lakes without destroying that piece of history and without putting children's lives in danger. That's my opinion.
With your group, like Friends of the Historical Golf.
Friends of City Park, yes ma'am.
Friends of City Park. Would your group be willing to meet with the Brett and or Jimmy's group to?
We have met with Breck. We are always open to meet with Jenny's group. We have asked on a number of occasions. Absolutely. We're open to dialogue. Look, we're 100% open to dialogue. Again, we're not opposed to progress. We want progress. We just want a larger, better vision that keeps that golf course 100% intact. A better vision.
What is keeping you from meeting with Jenny?
You know, again, I'm not the head of the group. I think we've asked a couple of times. Some of us individually have met with Jenny. Jenny, I've run into her, you know, on the golf course when she was doing some news stuff, and we visited. But the answer is I don't know. We've asked. We want to get with, you know, with that group and figure out. Let's figure out how to do it. Let's figure out how to do it with the golf course in its existing capacity.
Your point about the children's lives being in danger, using that same analysis, are the children going to the Knock Knock Museum with fences around? Are their lives in danger walking through driveways and parking lots?
Well, you know, children's lives are always in danger, period. Absolutely, 100%. No question. But I can tell you that that railroad track is an attractive nuisance. I've got 3 grandchildren. 2 of them turned 5 today. My twins turned 5 today. And when they're at my house, they are attracted to that railroad track. So, sure, you park your car, you get out of the car, you walk your children to the Knock Knock Museum. I oftentimes, when I'm at parks, see children playing alone, where they get dropped off and they run to this part of the park or that part of the park or the other part of the park, and they're in and amongst themselves and doing things sometimes that children perhaps shouldn't be doing. And like, I'm not saying anything. I was a kid once too. Mom told us not to swim in the bayou. Guess what we did? We swam in the bayou. Okay? It's just a fact. That's what's going to happen. I don't know how you prevent that. I don't know what you do to keep that attractive nuisance away. I think, is that one more, Bill, or we got?
Does Breck have a written position on City Park?
I don't know if Breck has a written position on City Park or not, but we've met with members of Breck, and they seem to indicate that they don't have any intention of closing or altering the golf course. We have been told that continuously. When it comes up for a vote, people vote it down, but it pops back up again. It is a relentless attack on that golf course. And so the answer to the question is, I don't know what their official role is, but we've been told by members of Breck and the golf community at Breck that they don't have any intention of closing it. And they gave us these figures and said, look, the numbers bear itself out for the reason to keep it open.
What vote did we have on closing City Park?
I don't think it was a vote on closing City Park. I think it was the envision, the 10-year Breck proposal to pass the tax or and so forth. I really don't think there was any vote passed on closing City Park, the golf course at City Park, and I want to be very specific about the golf course at City Park.
Was that in the envision 10-year package?
I don't know that there was any discussion of closing it. It was just keeping the parks system moving forward, and Jenny was at that time, again, proposing this 2005 plan to make changes to the golf course and pushing that agenda during that time frame.
Does she have an official name, like, that she operates under, or?
Is it Envision? It's Envision, ENVISION, Envision.
Any more questions? Brian, thanks for coming today.
Has this been helpful? I mean, have I done any good here? Thank y'all. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. We love it.
Y'all, next week we're going to have the House Appropriations Chairman and the House Ways and Means Chairman to preview the session for